Hello, this is Sam. I'm still continuing the Tiny Prison Challenge, but wanted to try a couple of other challenges as well. This one will be the Ultimate Decades Challenge by Morbid Gamer. I'll get into that in a moment, but first, the trivia. From the beginning of the 14th century until around 1850, the Earth went through a little ice age. Temperatures dropped 0.6 degrees Celsius or 1.1 degrees Fahrenheit. This caused glacial advancement, famines, frozen waters, and other climate problems, especially as it came on the heels of a medieval warm period. This little ice age will be important to us shortly, as it had a big hand in causing the European famine of 1315 to 1317. The Ultimate Decades Challenge was created by Morbid Gamer. It is a legacy-style playthrough in which you play one family through the decades. We have chosen to start at 1300, but you can choose any decade to begin. The legacy runs until present, or even beyond if you wish. Now, this particular challenge follows a parallel to Earth's history and includes life expectancy, illness, war, and other realistic style events. We will be having a lot of death in this game, including every life stage. If this does not interest you, please feel free to skip this entire challenge. I will not be offended. To simulate the vast amount of life and death changes, I will be rolling on a life expectancy chart to see if someone lives, dies, becomes ill, and various other results based on the events happening at that time in the challenge. For instance, if a mother goes into labor, I will roll for her to see if she survives the birthing process. And I will also roll for the newborn baby to see if they survive. If a sim goes to war, I will roll to see if they survive, are captured, or other possibilities. Second trigger. I agree with Morbid entirely on this. My depiction of this challenge does not in any way allow or support the ideas of racism, homophobia, incest, slavery, genocide, sexism, and colonization. This is a historical playthrough, and therefore there will be questionable world or local events, beliefs, actions, and decisions. I'm talking about people clashing due to race, creed, gender, religious ideology, identity, and other factors. I do not personally support or condone these beliefs and viewpoints. They are in the game strictly because they appear in history. If this bothers you, please feel free to skip this series. Again, I will not be offended. And for the third warning, occult sims, no matter the viewer's personal belief in the occult or presence of the occult, I will be playing with all Sims 4 occults present in the game. I may not personally play each and every occult, but that will not stop them from being present. As such, like on Earth, this gameplay will have occult persecution at various times and in various areas. I do not support or condone persecution of anyone for their beliefs. This is, again, a mirror of our real world in this historical style playthrough. If this bothers you, feel free to skip this series. Our timeline will follow a 4-day rotational year, as you can see on Morbid's sample. Each day will represent 3 months or 1 season in the world. I will be using a 14-day season in the gameplay. However, due to the conflicting nature of Sims time versus real time, these game seasons will not affect the calendar, only the way the Sims react to their world event. Our seasons will go as such. We have the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. But these will not exactly mesh with these seasons here. 1300A, as might be seen right here, is not necessarily spring or summer. It is January, February, and March, meaning it's late winter, early spring. 1300B, as denoted here, is April, May, June. So very late spring into early summer. All events that involve a chance of death or other negative results will be rolled for on the chart of events. And I have placed a small box in the upper right corner with the dice result whenever it is rolled. This way, everyone can see that we are playing with complete transparency and honesty, even if we might not like the results. This particular die roller can go anywhere from a 4-sided, 6-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, and 20-sided. We will most be using the 20-sided. We also have the coin flip. Will allow us to get heads, as you see here, or female, and tails, or males. And then we have something called a percentage dice that you would see. And if we roll the die, you should see it rolling, and then I'll hit the stop button, and it should stop. And now you see it's 25. So that takes care of the dice rolls and our transparency. As you can see, there's our farm right there. Age of consent will never be younger than 16 in my gameplay, no matter what history dictates in reality. From age 16 to 19, we will have a coming of age. This means that the teen has reached a point where, though still a teenager, they are now allowed to marry, drop out of school, get a job, have children, inherit things. They will not need to roll to age up to 16 to 19 because they're still a teenager. In order to go to young adult, we'll have to roll to see if they survive that. However, in game, while playing, because I want to not have to use a mod to let them be able to do the adult things that come of age, I will be aging them up to young adult in the game. And then when they do hit young adult, they'll just stay the way they are without aging up again until adult. Heirs are the oldest surviving male in the household or the family unit. So if they have no sons, we would go to brothers, cousins, uncles, and so on. If they don't have any male heirs available, next in line would be the eldest daughter's husband, and so on and so forth. Of course, if it passes out of our male line into the female, the name of the family might change, and I'd like to keep the Langford, but we'll see how that goes. Marriages, we will roll to see if somebody can get married and have children, not the heirs. Heirs will be getting married and will be having children. Previous generation heirs will still be living in the household unless they die. Multi-generational houses did exist and were quite common. You would get several generations in one household. This is the specific century we're working in, 1300s. There's some nice pictures that Morbid took of her own game, which is gorgeous, gorgeous picture work. And we've got the rules. You start with 3 households. You may only try for baby. There's no fooling around or woo-hoo without trying for baby, unless, of course, it's a pregnant woman. There are no pregnancy tests either, so we have to wait to see if the heir's wife is pregnant when they try. I have found that after a couple sim hours, if the sim is in question wants to throw up, they're generally pregnant. Not all the time, but generally. When a female marries out of the household, she brings a dowry with her. Sometimes it's money, land, items, sometimes a mix. So to mark a dowry when we marry a woman out of the house into a side family, if they're poor or peasants, we will have to send 500 with them or as much as we can get. If we can't afford the payment, we sell the most valuable item and we don't keep any of the money, but it will be dirt poor because we didn't have the money to cover anything else. Merchant class or middle class will be 5,000 simoleons, and nobility or rich is 10,000. The males are not supposed to inherit unless it is the heir, in which they will receive 2,500 with their bride. I will have men leaving the house receive an inheritance to go with them so that they can set up their own family in life, and it will match what we would send with the female in this case. So we're going to have to make sure we have money in the household. We are not allowed to adopt children from outside of the family unless they are from one of the side families. This usually happens if the parents are deceased, though extraneous circumstances may occur. Births must occur at home. There are no hospitals yet. Babies can only be breastfed, not using a bottle, unless the birth mother dies, in which case they will have to get a wet nurse to keep the baby alive. Sims does not let us use a wet nurse to feed the baby by the breast. So the wet nurse will be using a bottle. but that does not mean others can use the bottle to feed the baby, only the wet nurse. If your sim gets sick, they cannot use medicine or make medicine unless they are a wise woman. Only natural remedies are available. Now, a wise woman was somebody that used to use the nature around them, plants, herbs, animal bits, whatever it was, to make remedies, tinctures, oils, anything it would take to make somebody to heal. They were not trained physicians. There were trained physicians at this time. As a result of these doctors and as a result of the church with their power in history, medieval women, wise women that were these folk healers, were beginning to be persecuted, especially if something bad happened, famine, a cow got sick, children died suddenly, something that looked like it could be witchcraft. And so therefore, when people went to the wise woman and the patient were risking getting in trouble, especially wise women. They risk their lives at times to make these cures and remedies because not everybody could afford a doctor. They're expensive. They're also travel to them. It was less difficult to use a wise woman, but it still endangered the wise woman. And a lot of the old witch hunts were wise women that got wrapped up in it and killed. We are using a wise woman in our gameplay. In fact, our main family has a wise woman in it. The same thing about medicine goes for animals, sim cats, dogs, and horses. There are no vets, so there's no animal medicines either. Divorces didn't happen, but church-sanctioned annulments and separations did. Mutual separation, where both parties simply agreed not to live together anymore, was most common. Since the crops won't be under a roof, they will grow at the whim of the game season. Summer plants will not be harvestable in winter, and vice versa. Harvesting is supposed to be once every season, or 14 days in this case, but our Sims would starve at the beginning at that rate. So I'm going to let them build a small reserve of seeds and canned goods before re-examining the harvest rules. For now, they will harvest every day. And not every Sim plant is available in the 1300s. I will only be planting the appropriate plants in the farm to match the century. They will be allowed to grow or hibernate per the Sim season. If during foraging, the wise woman come across plants not readily available in the century, but needed for herbalism, apothecary, or potion brewing, I will allow them to hide the plant away in a locked area to cultivate for use. If someone outside the household discovers these witch plants, the wise woman can be persecuted as witches. If during foraging, plants not available in the century and not needed for the wise woman craft is found, it will be disposed of without profit. The forge attempt will be considered unsuccessful. They will be using a selling table to sell any goods, and later I might invest in an at-home business that sells homemade furniture. For now, it will be sculptures, frogs, gemstones, and the like. They may also attend the town market in Henford and Bagley to buy and sell plant seeds, canned goods, and other things the grocer and the produce sellers will deal in. And now to introduce you to the families. My Sim family, the Langfords, are an established family which has owned the land they are on for over 100 years. As such, I use double the starting money to build the family farm, reflecting their long residency and growth over the decades. This naturally makes their taxes higher, so they have to work hard for their money and livelihood. Bills are considered taxes and must be paid on a regular basis, or the Sims risk eviction, not power loss or reponen. We are starting with 3 families, 1 main family and 2 side families. The main family lives in Sim England on Windenburg Island in this case. This is our main Sim, Jackson Langford, from Sim England. He is cheerful, perfectionist, and mystical. He has the aspiration of purveyor of potions. And he is a Sim spellcaster. He will be using apothecary, potion brewing, and herbalism for cures and tinctures and salves. He is his mother's apprentice. This is Noelle Williamson Langford. She is Jackson's wife. She's from Sim, Ireland, and was a friend of one of Jackson's brothers-in-law. She's a foodie, creative, and family-oriented. Her aspiration is elixir enthusiast, yet she is not an actual spellcaster, unlike her husband, Jackson. Noelle knows her husband and mother-in-law are spellcasters and is glad to hide their secret and learn from them. Elliot Langford is Jackson's father, and he is from Sim, England. He loves the outdoors, is loyal, and creative. His aspiration is freelance botanist, and he loves farming and animal cultivation. He knows his wife is a wise woman and supports her completely, and is proud of his son for following in her footsteps. This is Catherine McAdams Langford. She is originally from Sim, Scotland, and she is Jackson's mother and Elliot's wife. She is a genius, loves outdoor, and is mystical. She is a spellcaster, and Jackson is her apprentice. She also has the purveyor of potions aspiration. She will be using apothecary, potion brewing, and herbalism for her cures and tinctures and salves, like her son. And as you can see, she is very pregnant. This is because she's only 38 years old. Her son being 16, oldest daughter is 19. 38 minus 19 is 19. She had her first kid when she was 19. So she is 38 years old and able to be pregnant. Side family number 1, also located in Sim, England, but in Henford-on-Bagley town center, is the Rector family. The Rectors are cheesemakers. This consists of the eldest Langford daughter, Marjorie, who is cheerful, neat, and family-oriented. She wants a successful lineage. She's not a spellcaster, but knows her mother and brother are. Marjorie keeps her family secret close, even from her husband. Now, the interesting thing I found about Marjorie is that when I used the genetics to create their eldest child, Marjorie came out very narrow of face and looking like she came out of Sims 2. And I found this fascinating, and I decided I liked it. So that is a little bit of trivia about Marjorie. Her husband is Winston Rector, neat, good, and a foodie with aspiration of being a master chef. Actually, he doesn't need to be a master chef. He's just happy to be a cheesemaker and a shopkeeper. Winston does not know his mother-in-law or brother-in-law are spellcasters, but he actually likes them and would protect them if he did know. Marjorie, too, is pregnant. The other side of the family lives in Sim, England, as well, and they, too, are on Windenburg Island like our main family. This is Caitlin, and Caitlin is the second child of the Langfords. She is childish, family-oriented, and practice makes perfect. She is fully able to function outside of her family. She is a loving, hardworking, honest Sim, and the neighborhood loves her. She grew up in this neighborhood, and they are very protective of her. Once she got married and brought her husband home, they actually fell in love with her husband too. She wants big happy family. Caitlin has been drilled from infancy that she must keep her family's secret, but she did tell her husband after they married, trusting him implicitly. It may be hard to see. Caitlin is also pregnant. She's been married for a couple years now. This is Caitlin's husband, Grant Washburn. He's a native to Sim, England, but his mother's people are from Sim, Ireland. He brought his wife back to the lighthouse after their wedding, and he saw that the neighbors loved her as much as he does. He is good, creative, and materialistic. Despite his love of new and shiny things, Grant is a good lighthouse keeper. His aspiration is angling ace, and he's teaching his wife to fish as well. Grant does know his mother-in-law and brother-in-law are spellcasters, and he protects their secret. He has reminded his wife daily that she mustn't tell anyone else. It is through Grant that Jackson met Noelle. When it comes to pregnancy, we will not be rolling the dice to see if Noelle gets pregnant. She and Jackson will have to try the good old-fashioned woohoo way. But the rest of the family members, the side families especially, but for the mother as well, Catherine, I have chosen to roll dice to see if they got pregnant. And all 3 women rolled in their range to be pregnant. They're also all due on different dates. Now for the farm itself. You may only build with wood, stone, straw, and dirt. No drywall or wallpaper. So as you can see, we have a stone building with some of the old-fashioned horsehair plaster in the beams as seen in the late medieval period. Paintings may only be classic, landscape, and portraits. And children's drawings are not permitted to be displayed, only disposed of or sold. We may have rugs and tapestries, though we don't have them at the moment. Only thatch for roofs for the peasant class and higher. Wooden shingles or split slate shingles for the merchant class and higher, or sheets of metal for nobility. However, due to the history of this building, or this family, we have a building with slate shingles. This building used to be a blacksmithy. However, they are no longer blacksmiths. They are wood carvers now, and they do mill their own flour. This is indeed a working water wheel, which allows the Sims to get flour from it every couple hours. I do have it locked off because it was put in a 3x8 swimming pool to make it work, and these Sims will start trying to swim in the water wheel area if they get a chance. So I only let them in here if harvesting grass, using the pond, or getting some flour. The interior. Only lanterns or candles are allowed. Only a bush or outhouse is permitted, though a wooden toilet would also be allowed if outside the main house. Only wooden bathtubs. An off-the-grid sink of the oldest looking you can acquire, hopefully wood, which is what we have done here. Food storage consists of canning, curing, salting, drying, pickling, or icing in winter. There was no consistent or dedicated storage method that worked well, so meals quickly spoiled. The Sims will use canning and put aside seeds and use other types of natural preservative. There will be no leftovers because we're not going to be using the fridge, so any leftovers will spoil. Only wooden counters and the oldest off-the-grid stoves, though I think it's foolish to have the wood right under the stove. And, of course, an off-the-grid fridge. We must use the off-the-grid lot trait and simple living lot trait. There are no other kitchen appliances, no electronics, no coffee or tea brewers, DJ equipment, earbuds, kids' tablets, thermostats, rocking chairs, mirrors, playground equipment, or other things unavailable in the 1300s. We must use a clothesline and wash bin if we plan to do laundry. And since there weren't vacuums, we will be using brooms for keeping the house clean. Now, there are some things that weren't in the original rules, but during my research I stumbled upon. So I will be implementing this. Almost always, farmers and peasants in the 1300s lived with their animals in the same building, a long house or other kind of shelter. People and animals weren't separate until much later, or at the highest classes in the CAS system. So as you can see, we will be living with our sheep and goats. The chickens will have free rein to come in as well. Only because the Sims limit the range of the cow and llama, they will not be coming in. Horseshoe games have been around as long as shoeing horses and came over with the ancient Romans and Greeks. Drawing on rock with another rock or chalk is just as old. Hopscotch was something the ancient Romans did, and marbles came from ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, and ancient Rome. So I will be using these kids' games. I've placed them out here, despite not having children, because I will forget they exist by the time we get children. And yes, I know normally wind and weather would wash this away, but I'm putting them here so I don't forget them. Tree houses have been used since prehistoric times, out of necessity of storage and safety, but not as a child play place until the 1960s. So therefore, we will not be building a tree house yet, but I didn't want the trees to just suddenly spring out of nowhere when it was available, so I have the trees here already. Tree climbing is as old as prehistoric times, and even older. So therefore, we have climbing trees. This is also one of our climbing trees right here. Natural arbor arches for weddings were existent in the 1300s, but date back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece. You may have spotted several CC or mods, but you may have noticed that I'm not using it for clothing and hair. And the CC, as much as I would need to make this really authentic, would freeze up my game and make it give me a lot of troubles. So I got out of the habit of using CC for clothing and hair, though I use it for bandages, injuries, and burns. I apologize if this wrecks the immersion and the gameplay, but I find too much CC does start to corrupt the save file. I will, however, try to match clothing and hair as much as possible to the appropriate era. I will not be using a lot of build by CC either, for the same reasons. I'll match objects as best I can from the already present Sims 4 selections, but I am using the following CC mods. A water wheel, as you've already seen, by Balkanika. Sims produce flour every few hours instead of having to shop for it at the market. Prehistoric monkey trees by ATS4. This acts as natural monkey bars for the children, since it's made of conjoined trees. The climbable trees, back at the edge of the water, are by Jane Simsten and can be used by adults and children alike. Also, by Jane Simsten is this wonderful Parchment quill and ink computer that works off the grid. I have it locked down for everybody right now. I don't want them randomly using it, but it does act like a normal computer and it works off the grid, and it's great for a combination with LittleMsSam's online learning system, so the kids don't disappear doing a school rabbit hole. Instead, they can learn at home under the watchful eye of their parents. The brooms I have shown you come from MizoreYukii. Beautiful functioning broom mods. They can actually be used to sweep, so bust the dust is not as bad a challenge. Though this is a traditional sim woodworking table, I do have several woodworking mods by LittleMsSam's that allows me to make almost every piece of wooden furniture in the game and allows me to have them go to the forest to chop wood rather than just use money. Also from MizoreYukii, I have a candle making mod that does not make me have to use bits and pieces. And then over here we have pottery. I use the small pottery overhaul mod from LittleMsSam's, and it lets me use the pottery wheel and the kiln off the grid, as well as to require clay for the pottery. And I use LittleMsSam's mod that lets children harvest prairie grass as well. Some of the behind the scenes mods I use are MC Command Center from Deaderpool, Lot 51 Core from Lot 51, Life Tragedies from Sacrificial Sims, Children and Toddlers Can Dive Anything from MizoreYukii, XmlInjector and Keep Books After Publishing from Scumbumbo, and Better Exceptions, Mod Guard, and Burnout Toggle from Twisted Mexi. I will have a list of the major mods in CC below, as well as links to Morbid Gamers rules and helpful files, and my spreadsheet. Mind that if you look at my spreadsheet, you may see spoilers, as I tend to play ahead of the video releases. Any further instructions will be covered as the situation comes up. And a couple of other things. If anyone feels like creating townies or neighbors or future spouses, I would welcome that. My gallery ID is OOUGAS, Oogas, otherwise October, Umbrella, Golf, Alpha, Sam. Please feel free to upload Sims to the gallery with that hashtag and drop a comment down below the most recent video so I know it's there. And if you'd like to name a future baby, drop the suggestions down in the comments. Please only suggest actual and reasonable names. Nothing like space case or mailbox, please. And so I look forward to our journey in time with the Langfords. I'll see you next video. Bye.